Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world. We are live for the second day of the WCS Circuit Spring Championship here at the DreamHack Zawi Open in Tours, France. We're very excited to continue to filter down the player pool. Today, we have 16 players. By the end of it, just 4. I'm going to be your host, of course. I was yesterday. I'm going to be it today and tomorrow. And
Apollo, I love Apollo.
Thank you to our sponsors, of course, Zawi, Razer, G2A, Monster Energy, and of course, Alienware. Get your phones out throughout the day and remember to tweet at us with a hashtag WCS and hashtag DHOpen. Before I introduce my panel and before we talk about today's action, if you missed yesterday, keep your eyes peeled and watch this.
He's gonna land it! He's gonna land it! Can he get anything under there?
No, he's too late.
The attempts are coming over here.
No!
Wait.
Oh my God!
Yes. Oh my God, he gets underneath the orbital!
Stalkers are dead. That's got to be it. Puck cannot really do much else in this game.
But without the Texas, nothing he can do. Trying to focus on the mothership, but it just gets out of range, Kevin. And Igus just has way too much. He's just lost his entire army. Dancing is the ring.
Lynn's coming out also, and he is starting to turn this battle. Tasteless chasing down all the Ravagers
You know
as
what, man?
well.
Is he actually going to be able to do it? It looks like Showtime has enough.
I have never in my life cast a StarCraft game like this. This is insane.
Yesterday was indeed one of the most entertaining days of StarCraft that we have seen. Hopefully, fingers crossed, today and tomorrow can continue to give us some of the best StarCraft games. Now, time to introduce my panel. To my left is Sir Artosis. Hello, my dear friend Maynard. And of course, the hypest of hypecasters, Nathanius. Welcome to the desk, welcome to the panel, welcome to day 2. Are you ready?
Thank you. Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
That was hype. You're right. That was the hypest of hype right there.
Everyone at home is on the edge of their seats.
I think our viewers
today.
Can we get to the part where I get to be biased for Terran? Because that's really why I'm here.
I mean, we will have Terran players playing today, so just hold on.
In fact, you're doing a TvT, which
Terran.
is like basically...
yeah.
Maynard, how are you today? You've
actually-
got an Australian through today, so there's 2. There's you and Igers.
The best showing in 2016 for Australians so far to make it to the round of 16. And I slept like a baby last night, and I'm well adjusted for the time zone. Very happy to get casting today.
Yeah, and we look like a pair of flowers, or as you so
We
said
are a
this morning,
couple of Easter eggs over here. It's pretty cool, man. Yeah, very pastel today.
Super excited for today. Before we talk about the action and take a look at the bracket, of course, we have to go see Smix. How are you doing this morning, Smix? Oh, okay. No, we have the bracket now. I'm sorry.
Okay.
For now.
That's
I'm
also
sorry.
fine.
Oh my God, Smix turned into the
Smix
bracket.
is the bracket.
Oh no. How is the bracket going to do interviews if it's Smix on stage?
So here is the bracket. We have the first game of the day is going to be Polt versus uThermal. We have Cass versus a Laser that will be happening. That's a super excited game. I mean, across the board is a brilliant set of matchups.
There are some sick matches on here. The fact that we have Neeb Hydra in the round of 16, like
Yes.
what is
Rematch.
that?
That is like the match that you wish could have happened later, because then you'd be able to hype it up even more, Maynard especially.
Especially for an American.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just so cool that we get to see that sort of storyline
Oh,
develop.
look at that. It's a Terran versus Terran Nathanius to start the day up.
Wow.
I'm sure you're excited for that one.
You know, there's nothing I love more than watching uThermal cheese people in TvT, and I'm very excited to see that as well.
Yeah, so awesome games today. Overall, we'll be covering 4 games of the round of 16 on this stream, 4 games on the B stream. And the B stream, definitely just go check it out. Tasteless was losing his mind on that stream yesterday, and I'm sure he will be as well today. And then, of course, the quarterfinals will be happening. So by the end of today, just 4 players remaining going into day 3. Just the semifinals and finals tomorrow.
Yeah.
Getting closer to finding the next champion and possibly a new player at the global playoffs.
Yep. And I think
For sure that.
Well,
yeah.
For sure that we'll
To be
have a
fair,
new player going to the global
you
playoffs.
can't qualify twice. You can kind of.
Yeah,
but,
like even if Polt
yeah.
wins this, it just goes to the next guy,
And
right?
I did want to say as well, if you guys missed the games yesterday, there were so many ridiculous series. Like, as cool as that highlight video may have seemed, it does not do justice to how much madness there was.
There were only 1 or 2 bad series yesterday where you were just like, I don't know. That was like kind of a weak, weak sauce from one guy. But mostly there was like
5.
Exactly. Yeah,
in some cases.
Game 6 in the best of 5. That Polt versus Strange series. That's. I mean, I'm going to go back and watch that because I still don't really know what happened. I was casting during that match, but there were so many great games. Make sure you definitely check them out.
All right, well, so I've heard Smix is now with us. Smix, how are you doing this lovely morning?
I am doing absolutely great, Apollo, and it is welcoming to the main stage here on day 2 of the Spring Championship. We already saw a lot of upsets on day 1. Emotions were riding high, but it is bound to be even more intense here on day 2 as we will go from 16 players down to 4 by the end of the day. Of course, we have our first 2 players of the day already in their booths practicing and getting warmed up for their first match of the day. It's Polt and uThermal, which is bound to be a great TvT. But before we get too carried away, let's head back to the boys and get ready for this day 2 to get started.
We are indeed ready, very excited here on the desk. Moments away from the first match happening. Back here on the desk with the boys.
Guys, get out there and like spread the word. This is just starting up. We actually want people to get in here. Polt, you know, he's already someone going to BlizzCon, so definitely a favorite for the tournament, but I don't think he's going to win, guys. I don't know if he'll beat uThermal, but the tournament itself, I really don't think he's going to win. I think he's a little bit off recently.
He's been so sloppy the last week. Like, you look at the DreamHack Austin performance, losing to Firecake, and, you know, not a player that he's had any trouble against ever. He thrashed him in Katowice. He thrashed him like the last 3 times they played in WCS throughout the seasons last year. And even that match, you're just looking at the results of him versus Strange. Like I said, I wasn't able to watch those games, but from what I heard, it was not a very convincing performance from Polt. He had to play very scrappy games. And uThermal comes into this series pretty confident in a matchup where it's super volatile in the early and mid game, where uThermal, that's where he thrives.
Well, hopefully he can take him on. I'm super excited for the Neeb Hydra game that's going to be happening, you know, in a little bit as well.
That's probably like the number 1 I'm looking forward to today as well.
I know you're American bias, though.
I actually asked
super exciting
my
game.
insane Twitter follow account, like,
what
are you most hyped for?
Well, I mean, Igers, right?
No, it was actually Neeb Hydra.
Neeb
Hydra by a
over
Igers, and actually very closely matched with Haas, this series coming up later today as well.
Well, that's just going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's Haas versus Elaser, right?
Yeah.
Haas versus anyone.
Yeah,
everyone wants
I just want to see what he does. If he plays like a normal game and he just wins by macro, I'm going to be very upset with him.
I caught one of his games against Happy with all the, I'm sure you guys have seen.
Yeah, they build like ninja bases. They like, it's like, I'm going to ninja in the top left, but I'm also going to ninja in the other top left base, and it's like mining in harmony, you know? They're just both there.
It was crazy. It was a thing of beauty for sure. So Haas, obviously one of these guys, is going to be really fun to watch today.
All right, well, before we start talking about the first match, do remember that we are running a promotion together with Blizzard during this tournament. If you want to play Wings of Liberty, boom, 50% off. You want to play Heart of the Swarm, boom, 50% off. You want to play Legacy of the Void the first time this is on sale, should I say, boom, 25% off. Put it all together, 125% off of all 3. So look at that.
Does Blizzard send you money if you buy one? Like, how does that work? I don't even know.
It's just like, put it on your tax return.
I wish
You're good,
Control
man.
was up here to explain this to me. My math is a bit sketchy.
He's really good at crunching numbers, but he's on the B stream where there will be some other games too.
So non-stop action, you want to play StarCraft, go ahead and have a look at some of those deals. All right, it's time to focus on game number 1. Before we talk about it specifically, we caught up with uThermal about the DreamHack tournament so far.
Actually, my brother bought StarCraft for me. That's why I started playing. I played a bit of StarCraft 1, like the fun modes, like what arcade is now. It's like called user map settings, I believe, but never too serious. And then I started playing some team games with my brother. But I was always more the 1v1 guy, even in other team games, like like for example, team games I played with my brother, I would always go solo. So then I started playing 1v1 and got quite high on the ladder. That's where it started.
Shine like gold.
StarCraft's fun because it's really hardcore. Like the other games are mostly like 5v5 and it's always with friends, and it's also a bit harder to find teams and such, and in StarCraft it's all new, and I really like the competitiveness of StarCraft.
I
Actually, the first few events I was still a bit of a tilter and I could get a bit hostile at times. But nowadays everyone's just friends. Of course, there's going to be some heated moments when you know, people lose to each other. But mostly everyone is just friends. There are some exceptions, but I mean, it's just a friendly group basically. Actually, it meant a lot to me because it was like even like the last 2 years of high school, I already thought I wanted to go pro. I wasn't that good yet, and I didn't know if I would make it. But then, like I started losing interest in school because like the pro gaming seemed so cool to me. And then eventually, I got a pro gamer and I started going full time, and it's really a cool lifestyle. It's really a lifestyle I like to live. It's not only that you're just like playing games for money, it's also you mature a lot while being a pro gamer. You travel a lot, you have to find your own way, especially in StarCraft since you're alone. And yeah, you just learn a lot while being a pro gamer. So it's really not just playing games for money all years, but you actually learn a lot as well as a person.
Top finisher from DreamHack Open in Leipzig, and here he is again at another DreamHack tournament, a more important one, of course, because this is the WCS Circuit Spring Championship. And Thanis, this guy has had a lot of ups and downs over the last 12 months or so. Sometimes he's feeling great and playing great. The other times he's feeling bad, doesn't want to play, is emotional.
He's been an interesting player to follow, and I love that you bring up Leipzig. He was a bit of a sleeper, hit on furthest reaching Terran in that tournament. Not the player that a lot of people expected to see go that far, because we still have guys like Bunny, Marine Lord, who took some pretty rough series before the Adept patch against Protoss players, but he brought a different flavor of play, and that's kind of been uThermal's hallmark. He's an aggressive player, but he'll also do manipulative builds that can take advantage of maps and such. We saw that in his series yesterday, and I'm excited to see what he does against this guy who has not been playing in top form recently.
I know we talked about it. He's been so shaky. He lost versus Firecake last week. He almost lost versus Strange this week. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, this guy, like, the funny thing is, if it was any other Terran player and he had those results, we'd be like, damn, he's on fire, man. But it's Polt. So we're like, oh, he didn't win every tournament this year? That's weird. But yeah, I mean, he is a little bit shaky for sure.
Yeah, and uThermal feels really good about this series, actually, which is not actually common for him. He's the kind of guy that's like, oh, I don't know, guys, like, you know, maybe if I do my best. But he's actually talked to Nathanias and myself, and he's feeling pretty good, especially with, like you mentioned, Polt's form and the fact that he's had a good win yesterday. It was a solid 3-0 on the B stream. And I mentioned on the B stream, I'm a huge fan of this kid, and I'm very, very happy we get to cast him, and can't wait for the series.
And as a uThermal Twitch sub, I've seen how he plays his games against Terran. He is going to be very aggressive. We talked to him yesterday. I was like, how's your 2-rack sweeper doing? He said, very good against Terran.
Excellent.
I think that this is another big confidence booster, not just because of his own results, but I feel like everybody that's coming to these tournaments now, you see players like Polt drop series to Firecake. You see them lose in the online qualifiers to guys like Neeb and Puck, and everyone here, it makes them feel a bit more human, a lot more defeatable, and I think that's a huge boost for everyone in this tournament.
Well, this is the, you know, the optimal timing for uThermal to defeat such a giant as Polt. I mean, just looking at these stats on screen, almost $500,000 made over the last 6 years in
just
StarCraft.
noticed that.
Damn.
Wow.
Getting pretty high up there.
Dollar bill.
Compared to uThermal, I mean, 30,000 is great, but obviously nowhere near 500,000.
Yeah.
So obviously two different types of players for sure. Going to be a difficult series no matter what. The thing is with Polt, and we can know that over the last 6 years, is seemingly he gets better and better at each stage of the tournament. He continues to grow in strength and confidence.
Yeah, well, he should have a lot of confidence. This guy is like a GSL champion. He's won tournaments all over the world. He's one of the oldest pro gamers that there actually is still competing. And like going into this year when I saw it announced, I'm like, oh, wow, Polt's going to win a lot of money. Hasn't quite been the case, but he's already qualified for BlizzCon. There's not really a lot of pressure on him, right? Like, he's made enough money. He's fine. He has nothing to prove. So that gives him kind of like an extra layer of relaxation on top of the fact he's been in the booth more than anyone here.
Not surprised at all, by the way, to see Frozen Temple there by uThermal, because he is going to want to be very aggressive on that map. I've played TvT on that one before. Lots of Reapers.
Yeah, I mean, the map pool layout for Terran versus Terran, not a huge deal. Neither player wants to get forced into like the really awkward games you get on Arena or Core Hall Carnage. So I think this is a very good, normal, straight up sort of arrangement. And the biggest story of this series, in my opinion, is just going to be whether Polt looks like he did yesterday, looks like he did at Austin, and continues this downward trend that we're kind of feeling from him, or if he's just going to come back and be like, guys, I am Polt, and just basically plays the way that we expect him to. Because even then, we're talking about how he's been doing not so great. He should still, based on his previous results, based on who he is, he should still be the guy that's going to win this 3-0.
He is still a favorite.
He should win this 3-0 easily if we just go based on, overall career history. But recently, that's just not as easy to say.
I think he might need that to restore his confidence and his fans' confidence in him, to be honest. But let's go to the predictions then. And we don't have too much time left. Nathanias, where are you going? What's the score?
I'm calling an ugly series here. I think Polt will still win it, 3-2, but I think he's going to get some pretty bad cheese losses.
I'm going to say it's going to be a dirty scrappy one as well. I have to echo my Terran brethren there, but I think maybe Mark uThermal Schlappy going to take this one 3-2.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take uThermal 3-2 as well. Like, he skipped Austin. He's been in Europe. This is his time zone. He's gotten that extra practice time. There are infinity games of Polt that you can study. And he had the time to do it, where Polt is like at a tournament, fly to the next tournament, doesn't know he's going to play. Okay, now I beat him. Okay, well, now I'm against uThermal. Yeah, I think that everything is kind of in uThermal's favor here.
All right, then we have an overall upset prediction here on the desk. Let's find out if that's going to take shape. We're going to go to our casters then to start day 2 of the tournament.
What's up, kids? The casters are here. Nathanias and Maynard, 2 Terran commentators for 2 Terran players.
That's right. We
well
bring you guys
played,
this
DreamHack.
TvT. We're already loaded in. Maynard, kick off the hype train for me.
It would be my pleasure, man. And the top here on his new team, Team Envious. This is Polt.
Already hearing some cheers out from
they're
that
starting to fill
crowd
out there,
here
starting to fill out.
early in the day here in Tour.
And in the bottom right from AT Gaming, this, the Dutch Terran, is uThermal. I'm also a sub to his stream. Actually, sub to both these guys. I love my Terran players.
uThermal's got some good emotes.
Yeah, he does.
He's very good at commentary.
I get to spam, what do you call it? The Mario's little face there in chats now because of
I like his feels good man emotes and such. He makes proficient use of memes, and also just all of his aggressive play is so fun to watch. You tune in, you watch a guy like uThermal play, you see how he brings it out in tournaments. His aggressive play was the hallmark of his success when he played at DreamHack Leipzig. We haven't seen that same, big upness, but I feel like that still is something that shouldn't be too bad if Polt is not in top form. We talk about the monster that Polt has always been. He's a nightmare for everyone in these tournaments that he competes in. But as of late, it has been Hydra that people have been much more concerned about in these, in the WCS circuit.
A lot of people still favoring Hydra to be the winner of this entire tournament, but that is more down the line here. We've seen Polt going for a quicker factory here after that single barracks, and both players going to get a good look and see what's going on. Both players doing pretty much the same thing. Small differences, kind of different gas timings.
So, you open with the quick gas into Reaper with the fast factory, and the general premise of this build is that if your opponent is going for something like a 1 Reaper expand into a reactor, you're not going to have units to just deal with early double Reaper Hellion pressure. A lot of Terran players will just die against it. But it's also a phenomenal opening against any sort of cheese. If you're getting Proxy 2X, Proxy 3X Marines, or if it's Reapers, whatever it is, opening gas first, Reaper into Hellion, into usually Banshee, maybe Viking or Raven if you're a little bit worried, will deal with pretty much any sort of 1-base cheese play.
And first blood has been drawn with the SCV of uThermal, being taken out there by Polt's Reaper, and he just pulls that Reaper back, going back into the main, starting to get Hellion production up. Both players still doing the exact same thing. Quick starport with the Hellions, and this is very, very standard in TvT.
Yep, I wouldn't be surprised if both players with the Tech Labs going up for potentially that starport to go right away into Cloak Banshee. That's the most popular opening if you're facing this on ladder. However, for tournament play, Polt, expecting to maybe be the defender in this series against uThermal's aggression, is most likely going to open up with a Raven, unless he's really feeling, that he wants to go toe-to-toe with the aggression, which may be where he falls apart.
So already looks like uThermal being slightly more defensive, getting that Cyclone out instead, and Polt going for Cloak Sheath. So that's actually a good move from uThermal for that early game.
All right, so the Cyclone, that tells me that he probably wants to float the starport onto the Tech Lab and just build a Raven then as well. He could open with a Viking and then go into Raven, but seeing how it's just idling there, I'm imagining he's waiting for the Raven. So Raven Cyclone basically means I don't need to build an engineering bay or any missile turret.
Yeah,
so that's
all you need.
That's a solid 200, 300, 400 minerals, and we're looking at possibly a much faster third command command center just off the back of using this gas instead to defend a Banshee attack.
Yeah, quite true. There's that Cyclone showing Polt what's up there with a little bit of scuffle in the front of uThermal's natural. He gets his natural up there. And of course, Cloak Banshees is a big investment. That's a lot of gas.
Yep.
And he's seen that Banshee, seen that Cyclone, but he's committed to making the Banshee at this point.
Yeah.
He's invested in the tech. He even has a second Banshee on the way here, so sending it across the map.
You need to be so careful in these scenarios. That Reaper's going to run into the main base. The Cyclone gets a bit of damage, but if that Cyclone gets into a fight one-on-one against the Banshee can win. That Cyclones are very weak in terms of hit points, so you need to be super, super cautious. That Siege Tank also needs to come out to help push these Hellions back. And
a nice little move there from Polt. He does actually delay that second CC there by uThermal, like killing the SCV there. Loses one Hellion for his trouble, but that's still a very quite a heavy delay, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
Barracks is going to switch onto the Tech Lab so that he can boot up Stim. Starport, maybe you could get a Viking out, but the Cyclone should be enough to deal with any sort of Banshee play, which, by the way, it doesn't seem to have really kicked off yet. Where is the Banshee? Is it just idling outside the base somewhere?
He may be waiting for a couple so he can hit 2 places at once. That can circumnavigate the Cyclones for sure. You know.
Try to abuse the fact that there isn't any static defense, right? Pull the Cyclone to one side, maybe run with a second Banshee in the other. Yeah. Either way, it's still giving uThermal more time to prepare and consider what his opponent could be throwing at him.
Scan there from uThermal, sees exactly what's up in Polt's main, sends a Hellion up into the natural. See that Polt actually got his CC before uThermal, even though he made it later because of that delay there with his Hellion run by. It's a nice little move there from Polt. And yeah, he's just waiting for that extra Banshee, and uThermal is still making that NG Bay.
Actually, I just don't like it. I mean, this is just giving uThermal so much breathing room to focus on his macro, to try not to get supply blocked, to bolster his forces.
Yeah.
And all things said and done, it's not that there's a huge advantage for either side, but the investment that uThermal made, it's like, technically, did he get as much value out of it himself since he didn't really need to defend? You know, that's kind of a question you can kind of answer yourself. But I will say that his Stim is much faster because he didn't use his Tech Lab research and Cloak and getting 2 Banshees. He went straight for Stim. So if he makes an early bio push, he's going to have access to that. And we all know how important Stim is. It turns Marines into a whole other unit, Maynard.
Exactly. And I mean, he made the NG Bay, but he hasn't actually made any turrets yet. So the Raven actually saw that Banshee go into the main. We got a second one in the natural, already doing damage to some Marines and killing a couple SCVs as well. And there it is in the main, and Polt just wins. uThermal just leaves. Game 1 in the books. Wow.
So Polt with a very fast game number 1 victory. Maynard, now, you know, so
with the lack of turrets, I guess.
I mean, he had the Raven. Maybe it was the Cyclone that moved out onto the other side of the map, but just recognizing, I think it was pretty much that he hit so late. I feel like that's kind of like I think like he's like tilted, you know? That's kind of like the feeling I get is you're like sitting there, you're like, okay, I have this early defensive setup against Cloak Banshee, then a Banshee doesn't come, and then you move the Cyclone out, and then 2 Banshees hit at the same time, and you're like, well, I don't have any turrets. 1 Raven's not going to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, we already saw a lot of damage coming down, and if that game went for an extra couple of minutes, I guarantee we would have seen a lot more kills of SCVs there, and I guess uThermal just did the math in his brain. He's like, well, you know, I can't come back from here. Or at least he feels that way. So
felt very strange. That was such an anticlimactic ending.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough to argue that, but I mean, it's his booth. He gets to choose when he leaves.
Yeah, so that is not a good start for uThermal by any means.
It's a little bit tilting, I'm sure.
I'm surprised. Usually we do see players fight it out quite a bit more. I mean, Terran versus Terran especially has always been a matchup where Micro and such can bring you back. But looking into this scenario, I believe the Cyclone right now is moving out on this highlight, and then the Banshee attacks. And he's just like, well, I don't have Stim yet, so my Marines aren't going to kill the Banshees. You're already killing my SCVs, and the Cyclone was just coming back.
And he doesn't have scans, he doesn't have turrets, and he's already lost several Marines sending them under the Banshee. He's just like, well, I guess I don't have anti-air now.
That was the biggest thing, I feel like. The Raven obviously can't cover both areas at once, but also that Cyclone was already moving its way towards the center of the map. So he's like, by the time it comes back and tries to lock on, the other Banshee will have killed like 15 SCVs.
Yeah.
So from uThermal's perspective, I can see why he would feel that he's behind, but I think, you know, in a tournament like this, a lot of other players would have tried to drag it out quite a bit more.
Yeah, it's his choice. And in the bottom left here, winning that game 1 very convincingly, it is Polt. A lot of fans out there in the crowd, and rightfully so. He is a legend of the game, a titan of the Terran race. And in the bottom left spawn here, this is uThermal. also got a lot of fans. I think people just want to see some good StarCraft today, and they're going to get that for sure.
Oh, yeah. There's so many great series coming up, especially. I mean, we already talked about it. I'm super hyped for Neeb Hydra. That's
it's hard not to be.
That's going to be probably... I'm hoping that that's, like, the best series of the day. See my boy Neeb. But,
Gasless here from Polt.
Yeah, so Invader, right? 4-player map. You can't spawn cross, but it does mean that since you don't know immediately where your opponent is, if you try to pull something a little bit more on the aggressive side and your opponent, SCV scouts a little bit later or doesn't SCV scout, you have a very hard time scouting with threat to. And Polt is actually opening up Gasless. And for Terran versus Terran, that's a super risky thing to do. Because he's also just hoping that, so, well, maybe if uThermal doesn't do some sort of super fast one-base attack, I should be able to get up defenses that I need.
He is the kind of Terran that likes to do super fast one-base attacks, but at this stage is kind of looking quite quiet here from uThermal. He got both his gases.
Yeah, but I feel like this early, it just allows him to get a crazy fast factory. Like, there's a couple of different things he could do with this. It could be a really fast single medevac tank drop with 8 or so Marines behind it. It could be really fast Cloak Banshee, but I don't think Cloak Banshee is a game ender against Polt this quickly. So I'm feeling more like I feel like it's got to be some sort of Marine tank, maybe, because even fast Liberator is really easy to stop if you just get out a Cyclone or you scout it.
With the close air and a couple of usable cliffs, tank play and fast drops in this map, very, very effective in TvT. TV, anything, really. A lot of drops in this map will work out quite well for Terrans.
The air rush distance is so
tiny.
Short. The ground rush distance didn't used to be that bad for these spawns, but they changed the map and got rid of the bridges in the center positions, and it just, it was they did that to make the third easier to defend, but at the same time, they also, like, doubled the rush distance because you have to go all the way around the very center of the map to scout that bottom left spot, but also, of course, your army's going to move quite slowly there, too. So uThermal, 2 Marines at a time, getting a Hellion, so maybe just a really fast, like, 3 Hellion attack with 6 Marine drop, which can still be very difficult to deal with Polt's opening.
And Polt's keeping an eye out for that second CC, which he hasn't seen yet, so a little bit of a dangerous time for Polt as he starts to unveil what uThermal is doing here. And at the point, uThermal, what he's doing isn't super scary, but he's definitely going to have a lot more units. And if he opts for drop play, he's going to do all right. Polt does have a bunker in the natural, though, so he's definitely going to want to try an air attack.
I love that he didn't show the SCV in the natural. Polt not allowing uThermal to know that he's aware of the natural expansion is super big, because if he doesn't lose his SCV, Polt, he just needs to commit to defending. He doesn't have to move any forces out of his base. It's like, well, if my opponent's on 1 base and I'm on 2, there's really no reason for me to do anything other than just macro up, defend, get upgrades, and then slowly push out. Whereas uThermal, the clock is ticking on him. If he doesn't get the economy up, he's not going to be able to defeat a Polt that has a full 2-base saturation.
That's right. uThermal's obviously starport's done, medevac across the map, and Polt's just starting his starport. So he doesn't... we got the uThermal actually making a Viking as well for counter drop defense. And Polt here gets a tech lab and makes a Cyclone straight away. Smart play, but this medevac is going to hit before a hit comes out. So the attack has begun.
That's right. These Marines are going to unload. Now, that medevac is going to make it very difficult for Polt's Marines to win a straight-up fight, as that healing is so crucial. He just needs all of his forces to fight together. The 2 Hellions run by now as well. Breaking his supply depot down could be opening up for a big push.
And it will. The front door is open, and in comes uThermal with a lot of splash damage here and healing Marines. And they are lining up a little bit for him here. He's losing a fair bit of the Marines. The Cyclone's out, though.
Yeah, the Cyclone helping to pick off those forces, but once that gets taken down, you can do some fancy pants drive macro against the lock-on. Keep in mind that Cyclone has very low hit points as well.
Mass repair here for the SCVs of Polt. The Cyclone is going to live. The Vikings out as well, and uThermal deflected. He does get 10 SCV kills, though.
But is it enough, Maynard? He's just now starting his natural. The SCV of Polt sees it. He's already going over, trying to tag him, beating him up, building that command center. But Polt, he's still ahead in workers. He still has double mule. Very important to keep in mind.
Because he had a quicker economy, he just evened the playing field, kind of. Like, they had equal SCVs before he head back home, but Polt's been producing. He hasn't stopped here. And now he's got a tank with a tank and a Cyclone. He's very safe in the main.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is even though he killed SCVs, he didn't kill enough that Polt was trying to recover. Polt is now just once again getting ahead in economy because he's still ahead in workers, he's still ahead in mules, and just having access to being able to split his SCVs across 2 expansions means both bases are going to last a little bit longer mining-wise. uThermal's main should mine out way before Polt.
No add-ons here on the starport for Polt. uThermal getting that Raven just in case. Helps out against those Banshees, helps out a couple things.
Another thing was that uThermal also built a really fast engineering bay missile turret. He could have expanded earlier behind this, but it seemed that he was also concerned about the possibility of being hit by that fast Banshee again, like in the last game.
Yeah, he doesn't want to end the game like it happened in game 1. Absolutely not. And there's a drop here coming from Polt, and it is heading towards a Widowbite.
No, the medevac can survive, but...
Yeah, but that's definitely doesn't want to dive in there.
Now you want to get out of there. One Viking shot, that would have been a quick tap in right there.
That's right. One in the chest and one in the head.
Yeah, that's gotta make sure they don't get back up. And now this drop is gonna come back home, can be repaired. So uThermal, he's got his natural now. The orbital command is finishing up. He's getting a couple of extra barracks. They're just now starting. I believe Polt is finishing up some of his extra barracks. So with a couple of Vikings coming in, the very close stim timings, he's going to be set up with 5 racks, it looks like, and that's a very nice amount of production. As you can see, the buildings are kind of laid out awkwardly. Invader is probably one of the smallest main bases that we've ever gotten on a StarCraft map. Makes it very awkward to position your infrastructure.
It is quite awkward, and we can see that the mains are full at this point. There's not a super... I mean, there's room for one more barracks there for uThermal at the bottom, and another one up there at the top right. But, you know, he's kicking into 5 racks as well. Both players going for the heavy bio production, single factory, single starport, and kicking in with their bio upgrades as well, married up with their +1 and stim timings.
Yep, the biggest things that we're going to have to be looking for in this game, moving forward, it's all going to come down to the medevacs, the siege tank micro. As our toasters would call them, the medanks will need to be controlled with the utmost of fancy pants micro. This Marine's going to try to push back that Viking and Raven. And the Vikings that are out on the field will be instrumental in trying to gain ground against the tank evac pushes, those slow crawls. And of course, because of the way that the spawns are laid out, if you lose a big fight, man, Doom Drop in your base on that production, GG.
GG. Doom Drops have spelled the doom, as per their name, for many Terran players. And speaking of Doom Drops, uThermal going for almost 2 full medevacs of Marines and double tanks in the third one.
This is a very forward push by uThermal. Look at that, 2 tanks sitting in Polt's base. Don't do it.
I don't know.
Don't go.
Yeah, this is going to not go well for him. The Cyclone's going to touch up the medevacs and
You scan that as a Terran player and you were like, no, thank you.
And it looks like he has a lag spike to think about it too. So there's a pause there by Polt.
I am going to just not do that. Probably a good... That's just one of those scenarios where like, you're like, oh, I don't have enough energy to scan. You don't scan. You're like, I'll just go for it anyway. Then the game is instantly over. So very smart of him to think about saving that scan energy for that moment.
Yeah, it would have been a pretty amazing throw there. I mean, we are sort of assuming, but we can safely assume there are 2 siege tanks very nicely tucked in there.
Yeah. They were
in the production, and they would have covered the mineral line and all of his production very easily.
Yep. So hopefully the latency is resolved reasonably soon. Of course, you know, things do happen, but
it's happened a couple times, but a pause has always fixed it in this tournament. So.
Everybody knows that just taking a step back, as Puck would say, is just a great way to solve a lot of problems in life. So just taking a step back for a minute here, and just so you guys online know, the audience is hearing the French casters. They're going out to the big stage. Of course, we are in France. I don't speak French, Maynard, do you?
No.
I think
Parlez-vous anglais?
Yeah, I only know how to say just a couple words that would probably just make someone be like, why do you even try? So we won't do that.
I practice my French, though. Like, Vanka is a lovely human that helps me with my French quite a bit. Todd, though, he just says, stop doing my language.
The only thing I remember how to say in French, and I probably don't remember it properly, is the last time we were here in tour, when Apollo was like, guys, everyone we're going to open the show, you have to be like, bienvenue à toi pour le DreamHack Open. You know?
Well done.
And that was like it. But that's probably still not that great.
I've been telling cab drivers, merci beaucoup and au revoir.
Oh, okay.
Being very polite. I'm a mannered man.
That's... You're from Australia. You guys are all super nice, so...
Well, like I said, you haven't met Igus yet.
Yeah, well, I have met him, but he's still okay. He plays,
he actually is lovely.
He plays Terran, right? So it's impossible for me to think anything negative.
You love Terrans.
My brain is literally hard-coded to never think anything negative about anything related to Terran at all. So.
In all seriousness, he's a sweet human being. He's just like, he's very cool frank. But anyway, we're back into it.
I thought his name was Igus. We're loaded back in. The medevacs are going to move their way towards the south. Zelnaga Watchtower, but you mentioned this earlier, those upgrades are married. The +1 attack is going to finish with both players at the same time. Those upgrades are super important. 2 Marines, 1v1 at the tower. uThermal does take that one. So really, TvT, it's all about the positioning. The biggest key to success is to just drop where your opponent is not.
Whoa, an even scarier Doom Drop here by Polt heading across to uThermal's main. This is going to get weird.
This could actually just be a super awkward base trade. Look at this, the Vikings pick this off, and if he doesn't see this, he's gonna be trying to attack with 3 medevacs versus 5 already in his base. This could just be a quick bop for Polt if uThermal doesn't pull some fancy pants moves real soon.
Oh no, he's dropping outside. He's delaying this. This is actually going to be really bad for uThermal here.
Go.
And there's the Doom drop in his main, and Polt is in an incredible position here. Everything's sieged up. uThermal pushing through the natural of Polt at the same time doing damage, but there is so much more for Polt here in the main of the Dutch Terran.
Yeah.
He's taking a lot of shells here from the siege tanks to uThermal. uThermal siege tanks not getting picked up there and saved this last second.
And those Vikings from Polt make it impossible to move the siege tanks back. The medevac's very low on hit points. The tanks, they are on the production.
How does he stop this?
Of uThermal. Polt is losing his natural, but he still has his barracks. He can still rally Marines inside towards his command center and prepare a last-ditch effort defense. He's lost his factory. He's losing his starport. Half of his barracks are dead.
Oh, this is pretty much the nail in the coffin here for uThermal. He doesn't have much left at all, and Polt has so much at home still because his production is untouched. I mean, he's lost 2 barracks out the front, but he's still got his factory. He's still got several of his barracks there. There's the mule there, and GG Polt. Wow, 2-0 already in a series that we thought would be a lot closer.
In scenarios like that, you know, it is always better to hit the main just because the production is there. Every time a Marine steps out of that barracks, 2 tanks are going to be boom, boom. That Marine is dead. Polt, with just a little bit of time to prepare, he's like, okay, you want to attack my natural? That's fine. We're both going to, if we're going to base trade, I want to at least keep my production together. He had a tank in his main base, the defensive tank from the beginning of the game, and then he also had just a dozen, 2 dozen Marines. uThermal, if you're going to take trades like that, it's just difficult because he scanned Polt and he's like, well, I didn't think he was going to doom drop me. And the Polt's like, no, I was going to do that.
No, he absolutely did that.
I think it's because he saw all the medevacs were there on the tower. When he dropped that 1 Marine there to clean the tower, he's probably saw the 3 medevacs. He's like, you know what? I think he's going to go around towards my natural, and maybe that's why he thought he could do it.
And there's the big nail in the coffin here, the bop from Polt towards the last few seconds of this game. In the main, killing the factories, killing the barracks, and uThermal, with those Vikings in the sky, cannot micro his units away. The siege tanks are all going down. His medevac's desperately trying to keep his siege tanks, his splash damage, his all-important Marines alive, but down they go. It's just too rough here, and there's nothing he could have done about it.
At that point, you are stuck. And that even comes down to things as small as, right, he moved across first the 3 Vikings. He killed uThermal's Viking instantly. uThermal only had 1 Viking. He did have a Raven. Like, a point defense drone would have allowed him to at least take out 1 of Polt's Vikings. And then maybe if he only has 2, I think then that becomes a much easier trade for him to take with a PDD. But otherwise, those medevacs are going to fly into your base completely uncontested, and that is not fun. That's not fun.
It was just a shame that he was sending less dropships across the map. Whoa. It was just a shame that he was sending less medevacs across the map at the right time.
VR headset. You're going to be all over the place now.
Yeah, we'll give you a second to recover here as we introduce these players. In the top spawn here of Dust Towers, it is Polt on match point already.
Very... I can't say it's been like a super crazy convincing performance, but it's been good.
Yeah, it's been good enough. He's up 2 maps against this guy. This is AT Gaming's uThermal. Now, TvT is the kind of matchup where, you know, people are like, wow, these games haven't been close, but it is the matchup where you can just be like, I've won now because of what's happened.
TvT is the most volatile, in my opinion, matchup for Terran right now. Like, this is, you know, Reapers are really, really good. We're seeing a 2x Reaper proxy build here by uThermal. Polt SCV scouting, it's just smart play. But when you're playing Terran versus Terran, Reapers are so much stronger, like I said. You have to worry about early tank pushes more because of the medevac drop ability. And obviously, siege tank drops in the mid and late game are still, they're pretty much all of the matchups about. You know, you don't see strategies like mech anymore. You can't really contest Liberators in the late game if you try to play a slow style. So you got to be fast, you got to be furious. And, well, that just means that when you crash, you die instantly.
Yes, indeed. And we see that Polt has gone in the main of uThermal, so he's no barracks, and he knows that he is getting proxied right now. So he's setting up his defense, getting that bunker up, getting his extra barracks up here. He's probably going to make another barracks as well. Because, oh, a bunker, sorry, excuse me.
So this is just brilliant. You know, this wall, Maynard, if he tries to jump up the left side,
he's going to lose everything.
He can't go out. He can't run past this wall. So good luck there. And then Polt's like, all right, and I'm going to build the other barracks on the right side, and then 1 more supply depot. You can't run by here. So what are your options? Jump up and die. That's pretty much it. The SCVs, this is the one moment where the Reaper can get inside, and now he builds the next depot. This Reaper is trapped. He cannot jump outside the base anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. The wall-off has completed here for Polt, and his Reaper is still alive. In fact, uThermal's Reaper has less hit points than Polt's Reaper. A second Reaper coming to help out, but he's blocked off from being able to reinforce.
It's a giant wall, Maynard.
He built a wall. He's making Terran great.
He built a wall. He's keeping his opponent's units outside of his base, protecting his workers like a good Terran commander should.
Absolutely, and all of a sudden, uThermal's aggressive, cheesy opening here has been completely deflected.
What do you do against this?
You don't. That's nothing you do.
That's a great
you float your barracks back home with your tail between your legs and you go, God, how do I come back from here?
Yeah, and that is how you make uThermal pay for it. This SCV comes in delaying the follow-up factory a little bit. Of course, scouting that factory is still super important because Polt has his own factory on the way. And the oddest thing about this game is that while Polt did build a great big wall, it was not cheap. So uThermal's actually got his expansion coming up quite a bit faster than Polt.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Polt has a ton of production, so he could be aggressive with that, very potentially. And no second CC for a while here. uThermal's production is lax, to say the least, because half of it is floating in the sky.
I was going to say, his production's on layaway at the moment.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's on its way back.
You know, expedited shipping, they didn't tell me it would actually be 12 to 14 days, but there you have it.
Good old FedEx.
Yeah, they need that next day over here in Tour, but oh well. So Polt getting the reactor. I like that he goes for the reactor on the factory because it tells me that with his fast 3 racks and stim, he just wants to play this like a rough Terran versus Protoss opening from Heart of the Swarm. He's like, I'm going to one base, stim, double medevac, drop you, and try to kill you, which could still work in this game because uThermal is powering up for mid-game when Polt, he's not doing that at all right now.
No, he's just going to use that superior production of his to make a bunch of units, load them into double medevacs, get in there, and just kill the Dutch Terran. And it's looking likely, but I mean, I've seen miracles in StarCraft before.
Yeah, it is TvT. You know, all it really needs is something as simple as getting a Viking after this medevac and putting it somewhere that it's going to get a couple free shots off before one of the medevacs unload. You kill that, then a couple Hellions defend on the low ground with that Reaper, and all of a sudden, that expansion that he has brings him back into this game and possibly back into this series with a victory. So it's super, super important that he just plays very carefully. These Hellions moving out, if he loses this, he could lose. This is really all he has right now, to be honest.
I like that he's making a Viking back home, though. He's reading that he's very, very naked to drops right now, and a Viking's going to help out a lot, but he got add-ons for his barracks, which further delays his production of Marines. So his Marine count is going to be a fraction of Polt's, and he's heading across the map with 2 full medevacs.
He desperately needs to realize that Polt is on one base, because this medevac drop, he's like, I'm going to go harass. He's going to be like, oh my God, Polt's on one base. I don't have anything at home. I need to get everything back as soon as possible. Like, this is an attack that should not do anything with this Marauder here. He needs to lift these Hellions up.
These Hellions need to go home.
Get the hell out of there, uThermal.
He's being cute with the Hellions here, still dodging and trying to get whatever he can, but in the meantime, 16 Marines going to load into his main.
Marines. Well, he's got nothing to defend, Maynard.
It kind of looks like checkmate. They have stim, they have medevac support, and uThermal. Stim gets canceled here, and that's it, I think.
Boom, boom. 16 Marines in your base, in your face. The missile turrets and the Viking were nice, but he said, you didn't even have a front door.
Oh,
and he is killing everything. The SCVs are on the run, but you can't run from the men with the guns.
That's right, and that is it. GG. Polt gets himself a 3-0, and that series was a buffing.
That was brutal, man. Polt.
Brutal. Savage.
Yep. Rigged.
Rigged.
We did not get to see the fleshed out sort of games that maybe we were hoping for in this first best of 5, but uThermal just falling to pieces in the first 2 games and then throwing out the cheese with Polt saying, hey man, I'm from the United States. I know how we deal with aggressive invaders.
Captain America sorting him out. As he has so many times before.
That is correct. And I will say for the other players in this tournament, it doesn't make Polt look that scary in my opinion. We didn't see anything really phenomenal, just some good decision making in the mid game for Terran versus Terran. Not even getting to the stage of that Marine tank medevac sort of dance, right? It was just the Doom drop really in Invader. That was the furthest that we got. So
yeah.
We didn't really get to see much.
No, a lot of uThermal's game plan. I guess we saw a preview of it with the proxy Reapers on Dust Towers there, but we just saw how hard Polt shut that down, and I kind of feel like he would have done pretty similarly if he proxy Reapered him on earlier maps as well.
And that is why SCV scouting is so important. Like, all he got was this single Reaper, and even better was that Polt had the ability to recognize that he could just build this depot and also trap that Reaper. So now he can't run away. He was like, okay, maybe you lose an SCV or 2, but does it really matter when your opponent didn't build SCVs for the first minute of the game because he wanted to get those racks up?
And there's that second Reaper completely blocked out from helping out his bro.
Yep, and that was absolutely great decision making by Polt, recognizing that if your opponent's production is across the map, you probably cut SC. Well, okay, as a Terran player, you should know that to do a build like this, your opponent is going to cut SCVs. So if you lose 1 or 2, you're totally fine. It reminds me of the 888, which happened a lot in like Heart of the Swarm. If you were playing TvT, as soon as you realize it's going on, you're like, you know what? Terran players, you can afford to lose a few SCVs and defend that and be totally fine because it's a huge investment. Either way, great match.
Well, a bit of an underwhelming start to the round 16, but it is going to get better and better as the game goes on. And let's get over to Smix for an interview with Polt on the stage.
Thank you very, very much, Maynard. There's a little bit of cheeky confusion with O Gaming, but thank you guys in the audience for always being amazing. And being so supportive. Polt, first of all, congratulations. You're moving on to the top 8 here with an extremely convincing 3-0 victory, and I have to point this out. Today looks like a totally different Polt compared to yesterday.
Yeah, myself in yesterday was kind of like bad. I don't know how to explain it, but like I was playing the backstage, but today I'm on the stage. I had the energy drink monster, and I'm with the crowd, big crowd here, so I'm getting stronger and stronger.
Well, the French fans definitely love to hear that. But let's talk a little bit more about yesterday, because it was a bit of a strange situation. I know that when people looked at that matchup, they didn't even think twice about it. They thought it was a surefire win for you. And then it almost turned into a loss, and then it turned into a kind of a weird situation. But talk to about it from your perspective and what you think possibly went wrong for you there.
Specifically about what?
With Strange, and it was such a close 3-2 win, and it almost turned into a 3-2 loss, and then it turned into the draw situation. But why do you think that match in particular turned so difficult for you?
So before I watched I watched all of the replays after the series, but in the when I was playing him, I thought I didn't really think I was playing well or something like that, but I just thought he's playing so well. But actually, after watching the replays, definitely not. I mean, I was not behind at all in the game, but I was just feeling in that way. Maybe because I had no information about him. I think that's the biggest reason.
Well, let's talk about how you're doing in general, because obviously you are the only player to win 4 WCS titles, an immense feat. And that being said, a lot of eyes are on you right now because of last week at DreamHack Austin, you had the loss to Firecake. Yesterday, you had the almost loss to Strange, so everyone is speculating, is Polt, he's looking mortal, maybe he's not the same, but today you're looking like the Polt we all know. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, the easy answer is everyone has their ups and downs, so maybe, but that's just too simple. So if I explain it a bit more, then I just had a hard time to I had a sleep problem, so I was not sleeping at all from before the 4 or 5 days from that DreamHack Austin, and this is I'm attending at 2 tournaments, 2 DreamHacks in a row, so my condition's obviously not that good, but I tried my best, and today, finally, I'm feeling pretty good now.
Well, I hope you keep chugging that monster, because it seems to be working out for you. Congratulations again to Polt. He moves on to the top 8, and of course, guys, we have more StarCraft 2 action coming up after this break, so don't go anywhere.